This is Lansdowne Roll, the voice of the fans, and this is 10 Irish players that we think need a transfer. David Dunn here, joined by Conor McAvoy, and of course, as always, if you haven't already, you know what I'm going to say, subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. Hit that like button. Also, it really does help the L channel and the L algorithm. And if you haven't already, head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter account, and of course, lansdowneroar.ie. Conor, God, I haven't seen you in minutes. How are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to talking about this transfer window opens in 4 or 5 days, which is exciting as always, one of the most exciting times of the year. And I have a feeling it's going to be a very big one from an Irish perspective. I think we're going to have a lot of players on the move. Like we have this on this video, we have 10, maybe 11 players that we want to get a transfer this summer. And I think it would be well more than that happens this summer. And but just on a caveat before we start, we haven't included any players that are free agents as such this summer. So like your Jimmy Dunn, who is heavily linked to Sheffield United. I think that's a bit boring just putting a free agent going, or saying Enda Stevens. I think Enda Stevens is going to Shamrock Rovers. I think it's a bit boring. We want players that will generate a bit of revenue or something.
Yeah, and No, totally get it. Obviously, players, and also some players which I think desperately need a move. And spoiler alert, there's going to be a couple of obvious ones in here, but still needs to be spoken about. Right, and these are in no particular order, but the first one we're going to go for is Evan Ferguson, 20-year-old at Brighton. Conor, where do you think he might end up?
This is a tricky one, Dave, because I've said to you on many occasions that I think what's going to happen to him is that he'll go back to Brighton in pre-season and he'll tear it up in pre-season, and they're going to love him again. He's going to be playing for them in pre-season, and they kind of will think, we can't just let this kid go. He's too good. We all know how good he is. It's just about seeing it in a Brighton shirt, especially with looking like Joy Pedro is going out the door. But I think all our preferences is that he gets out of there and gets out of the environment of English football, really, and goes abroad. So I think we've gone with 3 clubs here that we think could make a real difference. The obvious one, I think, Dave, was the one from January. It was the Bayer Leverkusen option that he was going to go to on loan, which kind of showed where his mindset was at, that he was going to go there in January with Boniface was supposed to be going to Al Nassr, and then they signed John Duran. So then the Boniface deal fell apart, which ruled out him going there and went to West Ham instead. So I think I've seen reports that both Boniface and Patrick Schick could be leaving Leverkusen this summer, which would open a door for 1, maybe 2 signings come in. I know Eric Ten Hag's gone there in the past, and I'm sure when he was at United, that's when Evan's stocks were kind of at his highest so far. So he probably will have only good memories of Ferguson when he's seen him at United. So I think that is possible. And then I also went with Frankfurt as well from a German point of view. Atike, that is been doing very, very well for Frankfurt this season, is heavily linked with a move abroad. Chelsea, I think I've seen Chelsea linked with him. I've seen Liverpool linked with him, and I think he's definitely out the door, Frankfurt, this summer, which leaves a space for them. I know I've seen that they want to sign Joe Bellingham, which could be shows what sort of market they're looking in. They're probably looking into the English leagues to see what they can develop, and I think it would be a perfect. They've shown in the past what they've done with other strikers, and what Evan could go in there, and I think Frankfurt, and especially if they're playing in such a high level in Europe. And then I think the last one, I think could be just a thing of with Roberto De Zerbi connection with Marseille, which I think Dave could fit very well. They have an excellent young squad at the moment. They do very well in the French league. I think with De Zerbi there, it's a familiar. I know it didn't go well with the familiar face with Potter, but it's a very good club to go to, playing at a high level, and I think he would develop quite well there.
Yeah, just looking there now, people probably think, oh, Frankfurt, those unfamiliar, and Marseille. Munich won the Champions League, the Bundesliga. Harry Kane, top goal scorer. Leverkusen finished second. Now they were way off the pace. They were 13 points off the pace. And Frankfurt came third. So Frankfurt, not a bad team, finished third. They finished 3 points ahead of Borussia Dortmund, finished fourth in the Bundesliga. And Marseille finished, albeit 19 points off top spot, but they finished second in League 1. Mason Greenwood, Christ, he actually finished the top goals. He was joint top goal scorer with Dembele in League 1. So yeah, not bad options there. I you know what, Leverkusen, I wouldn't have anything against him. He's too good for the championship. I don't want him going down to the championship. People are like, oh, you know, you're going to say that. You're biased. No, he's too good for the championship. He needs to be playing in a top team, or sorry, in the top league. And I think any one of those, kind of, to be fair, if it does happen, would be great. I have a feeling, though, I do agree with you. I don't think he's going to leave Brighton. I think he's going to go in there determined. I do think he has an elite mentality. From what I've seen of him, you know, and people will obviously think with a young player, oh, you know, his attitude's bad. No, it's nothing to do with his attitude. It's just, you know, it didn't work out from West Ham. We've gone through the reasons. And we're not going to bore you with that again. But I think he's gonna, like you've said, he's gonna go in. He's gonna have his first proper preseason. He hasn't had one for a very long time. A couple of seasons. He's gone. Was it just last season he didn't have a preseason?
Yeah, last season he didn't.
Yeah, last season had no preseason. He's going to go away. He's going to hit the ground running, and I think the manager at Brighton is going to see what young Ferguson's all about and prove everybody wrong, because he's getting a bit of stick off some Irish fans, and hopefully he gets over that Pantella injury that Rolling Stone keeps talking about. But yeah, and that's what I think is going to happen anyway. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Of course, Caoimhín Kelleher, Premier League winner, 26. He's at Liverpool. Conor, talk to us about his possible clubs.
I think it's obvious. I think he's probably the most obvious Irish player that's on the move this summer, Dave.
Yeah.
I think he said himself on the final day of the season interview that he wants to go be a number one. He said it multiple times with Ireland. Liverpool have a keeper coming in, which kind of removes any doubt that he won't leave, and especially with 1 year left his contract. So I think he will stay in the Premier League, to be honest, Dave. We see Aston Villa is definitely an option. Looks like Emi Martinez is on his way out the door there. Newcastle is another option. Newcastle, Nick Pope seems to be kind of on his last legs at Newcastle. They seem to want to, as they get better, especially with Champions League coming up, they want to get a better keeper or a better, more modern keeper. Spurs as well, I think, with Vicario, he's not kicked on the way people would have thought this season. Had a good first year. And this year I know he's had injuries, but he's not been great. And they're three. And then I think Brentford as well could be an outside shot, because it seems like Mark Flecken is heading to Bayern Leverkusen to join up with Eric Ten Hag. So Brentford could be an option for Kelleher, but I'd love to see him go to Newcastle. Would be the first preference, just with Champions League football. It would be good to see him go there. But Aston Villa wouldn't be bad because they're a building club. I know they didn't get Champions League, but you can see they're a growing club and that they're playing Europa League anyway. And if he's playing in Europe, I won't be too annoyed.
No, I agree with that. For me, it's Newcastle or Villa. He's too good for Brentford. He's 26. If he was 22, I'd understand going to Brentford. They're a mid-table side. He's 26. He's at his, he's entering his peak of his powers. Normally around 27 is your absolute peak, especially for a goalkeeper. So I don't want to go near Brentford. He's way too good for Spurs. Spurs are in the Champions League next season, but let's be honest, he'll end up doing his back game, picking the ball out of the net. Next season, the Spurs could stay are terrible. Now, you don't know what manager they're going to get in. There's a lot of talk about Ange Postecoglou not being there. It's a bit of a, it's a bit of a quandary there for Daniel Levy. Does he stick? Does he twist? He's brought them the first their first trophy in 18 years or 17 years, and their first European trophy since the 80s, I believe, or 70s. So, but I agree with you. Newcastle or Villa, interchangeable. They're both really good sides. They're both going to be up there in the if it wasn't for Villa bottling it really against Man United, they'd be in the Champions League ahead of Newcastle. So there you go. But no, it'd be interesting to see where he goes. But yeah, Villa or Newcastle, I think that would be perfect because he needs to be playing in Europe, especially the Champions League. Next up, of course, your boy Finn Azaz, 24 at Middlesbrough. Talk to us about the clubs you think he could end up in, Conor.
Yeah, he's just the greatest player to ever kick a ball. That's I've been saying for years. I think he could call up the Ireland squad. I know he's only 24 later than what he should have, but yeah, he had an outstanding season, 12 goals, 11 assists in the championship, tore it up really. Shown how good he is, and he's ready for the next step. We all know how good he is. He's shown it for Ireland against Bulgaria in March, and I know Palace scouts were out to watch him in March. I think in modern football, scouts can just turn on a screen and watch a player, but it was shown that how much they rate him. They went to Lansdowne Road in March to Viva to see him play in the second leg against Bulgaria, and then it's come out today by Sean O'Connor in Independent as we record that Bournemouth and Leeds have joined the race from. So I'm happy to, as long as he's playing in the Premier League. To be honest, Leeds, I know they're only getting promoted, but I think of all promoted teams over the last like 2 years, they probably will have the best chance of staying up. It looks like they're going to spend big money, 100 million or so, to reinforce their side. But yeah, Bournemouth would be a great option if you could get to a club like that. Palace, Eze might be on the way out. We don't know because of just how good of a player he is. You think that maybe top 6 clubs will be looking at him, but with Europe, so anyway, there'd be a lot of rotation in them sort of clubs because Palace wouldn't have a squad that's really built for playing in the Europa League, but they'll be doing it last year. So no, just as to be honest, Dave, as long as he's playing in the Premier League and playing at a good standard and playing week in, week out, and not fighting for his life really at the bottom of the table, which is probably the only negative maybe with Leeds, I'd be happy with Azaz in the Premiership.
Yeah, you have to caveat that. Has to be little asterisks there because there's no point in him playing in the Premier League if they're going to be 10 men behind the ball, or they're going to be sliced through, or they're not going to have. He's the type of player. He needs to have his foot on the ball, right? He is a lovely footballer, and I'm a believer in Finn Azaz, but he needs to play with his foot on the ball. There's no point in him playing in a defensive team where they're sitting behind trying not to get hiding every week. Sunderland, I wouldn't want to see him go to Sunderland. No offense, Sunderland fans, but they were terrible against Sheffield. That was a dreadful game against Sheffield United. 2 poor sides. And we said it, didn't we? Whoever goes up, they're going straight back down unless they get some serious investment. I don't think Sunderland will, to be honest. Wolves again finished 16th in the Premier League.
Could be coming. Everything's a Cunha replacement. Cunha's on his way to United. So, but no.
Could be. A bit of a basket case for club as well, financial issues. Palace, Palace, but obviously, the team you mentioned here, Bournemouth, I'd love to see him go Bournemouth. Problem is, though, would he be playing week in, week out at Bournemouth? Probably not, but if he impresses the manager there, he's done a superb job, but then there's talk that he might not be at the club anymore because there could be talk that Andoni Areola. So I remember when he got the job at Bournemouth and he got rid of Gary O'Neill. They were like, "Oh, this is terrible." I remember hearing all about that. But he's done a superb job there. Let's talk about him possibly now replacing Amarim at Man United. There was a little bit of talk about that. So
where are you getting this out?
No, there was talk about it.
Don't. That's a non-runner.
There was talk about it on TalkSport. I'm just saying.
That's a non-runner. Amarim's not leaving United. I thought you were going to say Spurs or something because I hadn't heard that and I've seen United. But,
no. It was. I'm just saying it was talked about. So this guy, like he is Areola is really touted.
The reality is, Dave, whoever Bournemouth, the sort of club, the investment they have and the way they scout, it won't be just players, managers, that if Areola goes, they'll have the next fella lined up. So Bournemouth, get Finn Azaz there. Maybe he mightn't start straight away, but it's competing for a place at the top club and you're going to turn into an even better player. Like,
he's
so
24.
Get him there. Yeah. Get him there.
If he's at that age, if he goes to Bournemouth and he proves himself at Bournemouth and he has like 3 years at Bournemouth in the Premier League, he could be going to a top 6 club.
Yeah.
He's got the ability. But anyway, tell us what you think in the comments, of course. Next player, Jason Knight, 24, Bristol City. Conor, possible clubs for young Jason Knight.
Yeah, Jason Knight, I could say, is turned into some player, one of the best centre mids in the Championship this past season. They're player of the season by a landslide. Got them shocked, probably a lot of people, by getting them into the playoffs. And he's had an outstanding year, but every minute of every game, which only will impress suitors even more. And I think with the way he's nailed on to play at a higher level. And I think Everton's the one we've all talked about, Dave. We think he'd fit in perfectly in the Moyes system, that sort of workhorse player. I do think Bournemouth as well. I know you would say maybe he's not that Bournemouth side of player, but I still think with the way they are, I could see Jason Knight coming in there and blending into that system. Yeah, I think he'd blend in. I think you'd see the real Jason Knight come in and that sort of. It's just with at Bristol City, you don't see it that much with the style of player they have at times. And the Championship doesn't really fit that. And then I think maybe a Sunderland or something with Joe Bellingham going out the door, looking like he's going to head to Frankfurt. Sunderland will need to recruit anyway in midfield, whether Bellingham stays or not. So I do think Sunderland will be sort of team. I think they could be a bit like Ipswich, trying to bring in the best Championship players from the year before to try and help them out, like what they done with Smodics and stuff. I think Everton, would probably be the most likely option, which we'd be happy with, Dave. But Bournemouth is someone like Bournemouth as well. But the thing is, as long as he's playing at a higher, I think he's ready for that step up. And even if he signs for Sunderland, that wouldn't be. He's the sort of player I think would still do very well in a relegation battle because his assets are not just on the ball, off the ball. He's very good as well.
Yeah, but I really want to see Jason Knight break out now. He's 24, so he's not quite at his peak. He's still learning, but you don't he's that kind of jack of all trades, master of none. He's got he can play in so many different players because his work ethic is superb. Never missed a minute for Bristol in the league. Superb player, like superb professionalism and a talent. And yeah, I think Bournemouth is a shout because they are a pressing team and they need legs, and he's got legs, he's got an engine. Everton, though, I think would be perfect for him. He is the David Moyes type of player. He's a grafter. He works hard. He's a team player. And I think he could do really well in a mid-table Premier League team at the age of 24. If he ends up going to a Sunderland, I'd really have to question this boys. If he went to Sunderland, I'd be questioning this lad's ambition, because Sunderland, in my opinion, are going to be Ipswich 2.0. There is no point in any of our young lads going to Sunderland unless you want a payday. And by the way, I get it. Or you just want to say, I played in the Premier League. I get it. But they're going to go straight back down, in my opinion. But yeah, for me, I'd like to see him go to Everton. Bournemouth, great. Can't see it happening. I reckon Everton, he's nailed on for that. Anyway, next player, Andrew Moran, 21. He's currently at Brighton. Rolling Stones' favourite player. We're going to be talking about a loan here. Where do you see this lad possibly going?
Yeah, I think he's the only one here I have as a loan, but because the thing is, he's on such a long contract at Brighton. I think he's the potential to be the difference maker in this Ireland team for the next 10, 15 years. I think he's that good. He's one of the best number 10s we've produced in a long, long time. A player that doesn't come around that often, to be honest, and Dave. I think he's absolutely outstanding, but I think he's just had terrible loan moves. Going to Blackburn, playing right wing half the time. Going to Stoke this past year, who've been in a relegation battle. I think he's just been, even time you see him in the Brighton first team, he always done very well in pre-season and stuff. And they gave him a new contract last summer before going out on loan because of how well he done in pre-season. And he's that good that he just needs to play in the technical league, Dave. That a league that he's going to go, and he's going to, because physically that's where he just probably lacks a bit. But in terms of his technical ability and his football brain, it's as good as anyone in Irish football, probably better than everyone. It's just about getting to a right club. So I think getting him abroad, I think Belgium with Union Saint Gilles, I think
Champions.
Belgium, they're Brighton's, owned by the same. They have the same owner, so there's a connection there. I know players like Adingra have went on loan there before and done quite well, and Casado, I think, went there for a short loan spell as well. So, you think going to them in a Belgian club and his technical ability, also went with another Belgian club, Genk, who are done quite well this season. I think Belgium would do quite well for Andrew just for a year. I know people think maybe that's not the greatest league, but it's still it's a step up from going from playing as a right winger in the Championship and relying on physicality rather than his technical ability. And Utrecht as well, in the Dutch league, I've gone for. They had a very, very good year in Holland. The lad they currently have playing as their number 10 is unknown from Borussia Mönchengladbach, so it does kind of fills a hole in their side, which I was looking at earlier. So I think the German league, the Dutch league, the Spanish league, any technical league that improves a player, it's not like Andrew really needs to improve technically. It's just about getting I think it's probably getting his confidence back and the swagger he used to always play with. When you see him playing underage football, he was probably the best number 10 in academy football in England. So it's just getting back to that, and then we'll see. Hopefully, when the World Cup comes around next year, we'll see the best of Andrew Moran.
Yeah, you're right. The lad needs minutes to rob a quote from Brendan Rodgers. Minutes to a player like as young as Andrew Moran is like oxygen. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what you said. I think you said about Raheem.
It has to be valuable minutes, Steve. I think just if you just constantly go on loan moves to Championship, it's just not beneficial. It gets to the stage. It's not.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he needs minutes. He needs minutes playing his style of football, passing it around. And you're absolutely right. Somewhere in the Netherlands would be great, in the Eredivisie, even Belgium as well. Technical leagues where you can just go and just grow as a player playing his style of football and not expected to play in it, like a team like Stoke. When you think about it, like a technically gifted player like Andrew Moran playing for a team like Stoke just doesn't. It's like Fellaini going to United. Just makes no sense whatsoever. But anyway, no, I agree with that. So hopefully he will get a move there. And yeah, as you say, get the swagger back. And he's only 21. So anyway. And next player, Dara O'Shea, 26. He's currently at Ipswich Town. They, of course, were relegated. But where do you reckon he could end up?
Yeah, I think he's the obvious one. Davis, one of the players you said starts at the end of the window who needs to get a move and who deserves to get. Is Dara O'Shea. He got Player of the Year at Ipswich. I think he's really coming into his own. First year in the Premiership with Burnley. I know he had West Brom, but he was quite young then. But not last year at Burnley. He had an okay season. Such kind of at the end of the year, he kind of came good. But I think he's been Ipswich's best player of the season. Never had been serious. He hasn't had one bad game. Never made a mistake that led to a goal. I thought he was excellent. He plays centre back, play at right back, and he's shown that like he was going to go to Brentford last summer, but then Ipswich I think offered more money in the end. And then you'd hope maybe with the way the Lap has a release clause in his contract of 30 million, Ipswich have thrown out a release clause and Dara O'Shea's as well if they got relegated. So yeah, I think he's probably a sort to get on the move because he's too good. He's just too good to play in the Championship at this stage, especially coming into his prime at 26. And yeah, I have Brentford down as one of the clubs I think he could possibly go to, Dave, just with the fact that they wanted him last summer. I know because Collins could be subject to a lot of interest from big clubs because as good as Nathan Collins is, there'll be a lot of clubs probably chasing his signature. Wolves as well were interested in last summer, but that never panned out. I think they were struggling money wise, but with the likes of but with the Cunha deal coming in, maybe they might invest in the back line, which could be an option. And then Bournemouth as well actually is an option for quite a few Irish lads. Just with Dean Hyson going out to Real Madrid and the way they look at they think Dara O'Shea maybe get him for 2 years and then sell him on for more money and stuff. So yeah, I think this is kind of a stating the obvious one, Dave, because he's just an excellent player, but it's just where he will go. I think probably Brentford, I think, would be ideal, but Wolves as well, I don't think would it be a bad shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, Brentford, I wouldn't be mad at. Wolves, I mean, look, he's got to stay in the Premier League, but I think Wolves are just one decent promotion side probably away from being relegated. Nobody was going. The three teams were so poor in the Premier League last season. No one was getting relegated. Look at Man United; they were 17th at one stage. For Christ's sake, I mean, Spurs finished 17th,
but they were never. I think they were never in a relegation battle. They finished 17th, but they were never going to get relegated.
But that's what I mean. And
it shows how bad the relegation teams are.
And United and Spurs will not be down there again. So Wolves, in my opinion, will be because I don't see them improving. They've had to revert to type with. Matt Doherty. No offense to Matt Doherty, but that's the truth of it. Financial issues. That's why the lad was it Lopetegui? Was it that left Wolves?
No, but the thing is, they did a very good end to the season. In fairness, just finished the season very well. Victor Pereira was nominated for manager of the season for how he turned it around from. He took them from bottom of the league to get into the season run. So I think it is if they can recruit well, they have recruited well in the past. It's about keep recruiting well and then they can get away from that sort of place. But
I wouldn't want to see him there. I think they're a bit of a basket case for a club. Bournemouth, yet again, I'd love to see him at Bournemouth. Areola, he could be his type of player. He likes to play out from the back. They're a high pressing team. And they also play out from the back also. And he can play out from the back, Dara O'Shea. We've seen that when he's had a chance. Probably can't do it when you're at a team like Ipswich. And then I think Areola would improve Dara O'Shea as well. Any Irish player going to Bournemouth would be good because he's a super coach, Areola, and he would improve them and he would make them a lot better. So I would love to see him go to Bournemouth. But I think Brentford's probably, it could be, Brentford would probably be a more realistic shout. But I wouldn't be totally mad at Wolves, but out of those three, I wouldn't mind him going to Wolves. But anyway, he needs to stay in the Premier League. Next up, Andrew Omobamidele, 22. He's at Nottingham Forest at the moment. Just the one club you think you might end up at next season?
No, it's because it was one I was trying to think. I was like, where will Omobamidele go? It's just think where does he go? It's like it's kind of the thing where it was like where's Omo gone? Where's he gone when he was at Forest last season? It's like maybe because they haven't got Champions League, they might lose Murillo or Milenkovic. I think they probably will lose Murillo in fairness because he'd probably go to a top team. And maybe he could come back into the squad there because we all know how good Omobamidele is. It's just injuries. He can't stay fit or he couldn't get a run of games. And he done well for Strasbourg when he played until the very last game. It kind of messed up. And then the fact that they didn't get Europe and they can't afford his wages, that buy option wasn't exercised. So, yeah, I think Leeds, is probably the real standout, to be honest, Dave, just because of what happened before, how Daniel Farke wanted him last year on loan with their connection because he played with them at Norwich. And I think Leeds probably of all probably semi Premier League clubs would probably be the most likely. I don't think he's going to go to a great Premier League club, unless it's like a Bournemouth or somebody who want to invest in the future, or Brentford, because his body hasn't held up too well over the last couple of years. But you hope it's just a phase because he's still only 22. Maybe he could go to another French club again, because I'm sure lots of clubs have been impressed with him, or go to a Serie A club, because there's loads of like defenders thrive in those sort of leagues. So I don't think he'll be short of options. It's just what level as such. Will it be loads of championship teams coming after him, or will it be that he gets a chance at Forest again? Because I wouldn't be shocked if he came back like Ferguson came in and done very well in preseason. But I don't think it. I think they'll probably just see it as probably just sell him this summer. Probably.
Would he not go back to Strasbourg?
No, they have a buy option, and they can't afford his wages. They can't afford his wages is the problem. And I think they're bringing in CJ. They're bringing in CJ Egan Riley from Burnley. It looks like, so maybe Burnley could be an option for next season. But we just don't know, Dave, because there hasn't been many reports on it, to be honest. But I'm sure he will have options. He's a very, very, very talented centre half. Like, it's just about getting it out of him really at this stage.
Oh, he's superb. He is really superb. He needs to show it. He's somebody, even at Leeds, and as you say, Leeds might be the exception to the rule with the teams going up that have gone up this season. Obviously, the teams that went up last season were absolutely appalling, straight back down. Leeds are going to heavily invest. I wouldn't be too mad at him at Leeds. He was playing week in, week out. Big club, huge potential, should really be in the Premier League, should never be in the bloody Championship. Let alone League One a few years ago. I wouldn't mind that. He is only 22. I just want to see this lad just go a whole season without being injured.
The thing is, with defenders, as Dara O'Shea showed last season, even if you get relegated but have a really solid season, you can get a move. Like Dara O'Shea, realistically, if money wasn't anything, he would have went to Brentford, would have had a great season alongside Collins, or playing even at right back. So I think that's the sort of thing. If Omobamidele could go to Leeds next season, they get relegated, but he has a really solid season, it could take it, because the fact is he'll only be 23 at the end of next season. So I don't think I'm not too worried, to be honest, Dave. So I think we should just let him develop, and
in the Premier League,
let him develop the highest level possible, and just stay injury free. I think is the big thing.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I know the other lads I was kind of picking and choosing with him. I'm not. I just want him injury free in the Premier League next season, and then show the lads what he can do. He's 22. He is super talented. He's a baller. He's a ball playing centre back. He is he's a hell of a talent, and he could be a mainstay for us for years. Next up, Callum and Callum Robinson, two Callums, both 30. We're talking about the future of the Irish team. Both 30 at Cardiff City, relegated to League One. I'll let you take over. Where do you think these lads might end up?
These two lads are so good that I decided to put them together. No, but I don't, because I think Brendan very nice. But the thing is, it's obvious these two lads need to move. They're too good to play in League One. Like, as much as we like to slag Brendan, the thing is, the two are decent players that should be playing at a decent championship side. Both actually had very good seasons until Robinson just went to AWOL, and O'Dowda just unfortunately was just in a bad team. And I think the two of them will probably be Cardiff's way of recuperating some money in the summer to invest, probably to get back up. I think clubs like, I've kind of gone to the same club for each of them, because I think they've all fit in what both could go to Wrexham, have been linked with Callum Robinson already. As people have spoke to support Wrexham, think that they need a left wing back, despite James McLeamy there think that he's lost a lot of pace. So O'Dowda could probably come in as a wing back as well. Charlton as well. I think Charlton are coming up, and I do think their squad is quite weak. I think they could do with reinforcements, whether it's at left back, left wing, or up front. And then Bristol City, I think as well, could be a shout. I think because they play 5 at the back, which would suit O'Dowda perfectly. Bristol City, Nahki Wells is going to be, I think, 35 next season, so there's going to be relying just on Sinclair Armstrong. So why not bring in Callum Robinson, who is actually an excellent finisher, and it's probably where Sinclair's is weakest at the moment. So it's someone he could learn from in terms of finishing. So I think both of them will have loads of options. Wrexham, I think, would probably be most realistic for Callum Robinson. I don't know about O'Dowda, but O'Dowda will have options because he's a good player. Like, so it'll be, I've just put them in together because it's just handy to put them as a pairing.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't see him going to Charlton. Just geography, to be honest. It'll be Bristol for Callum O'Dowda, because obviously, I don't think he had an acrimonious split from them, so he could end up going back there. Wrexham as well, because obviously, it's a Welsh club. I can't see him going to Charlton. I just think O'Dowda has never really been outside of Bristol or Cardiff, they're literally a stone's throw from each other. He's not going to, at the age of 30, he's not going to relocate his family to go all the way. I could be wrong now, but I can't imagine him relocating all the way down to Charlton at the age of 30, and they're probably not going to offer the most wages because they're just up. Although would be a good signing, both of them be a good signing for Charlton. Robinson, I'm not too sure. Callum, who did he play for before Cardiff? West Brom. So, and before that,
he was at Sheffield United, and he was at like Preston and stuff. Maybe he could go back to Preston. He has a very good relationship with Preston fans. Preston fans adore him. But I think to be honest, Dave, I know you're saying, but as long as they did, I think both of them, if they get one offer in the Championship, and even if it's in the back Arsenal, or I think they both accept, because they don't want to play in League One. Their wages will be cut if they're playing in League One. So especially when they both sign new contracts this year. So no, I think as long as they get back up to Championship, particularly O'Dowda, because he's the one that's going to be fighting for a place in the Ireland squad. Unfortunately, kind of Colin Robinson's. There's just been too many strikers have come in over the last, which is a blessing, really. We've had too many strikers coming through.
I think Wrexham would be a good move for them. Wrexham or Bristol, really, but I think Wrexham now, they'd be good for them. We don't know what happened with Robertson. There was rumours about.
We just don't know. It's just people flying. We don't want to say what people.
We don't want to say. We don't want to say.
Yeah.
But he did disappear from the squad, and he was doing really well. Just on a brand new contract, and he just disappeared. And he wasn't injured apparently. So, but I think Wrexham. Rabbit going mad. I think Wrexham would do very well with them. They'd bring up some good experience, and they're just looking to stay up in the Championship, so they'd be good for them. But I can't see them going to Championship. You never know. Money talks and desperation walks, or something like that. Anyway, next one. We're back in form with this one. Anselmo Garcia MacNulty, 22, and of course he is at PEC's Wall in the Eredivisie. There's been rumours that he might be going back to his homeland, Conor.
Yeah, back to his boyhood club as such. As I think this one's actually been flying about for a couple of years now. I know he was linked to Leeds and he was linked to Southampton last summer as a move, and he's had an excellent season, played every minute of every game in the Eredivisie. One of his biggest goals when you see him play for Ireland is how much it means to him, and I think the next step for him really is breaking into the Ireland squad. So he knows, I think, that he needs to get to the next level of club level. And I think going back to Spain, Real Betis is his boyhood club that he came through before he went to Wolfsburg. So I think Real Betis, would probably be the most likely option. I've seen reports in the Spanish media as well about Celta Vigo were interested in him. So I think that's another option. I think probably going back to Spain is the other option. And then I just threw in Como as well, because I found reports from January that he had clubs had made offers from Italy to his role about signing him in January, but obviously they refused it in the end. I just thought I'd just say Como, because the fact, if you look at their centre halves, they're actually quite old. Obviously they have a Spanish manager, Cesc Fabregas, so it's kind of the system that MacNulty came through before he went to Germany. So that's probably just the connection I just went with there. I think all Italian clubs always want centre backs, because there's a lot of them play with back threes and want a young, talented centre half that can make money off in the future. So I think the most likely thing we'll see probably MacNulty, to be honest, is he'll probably go back to Spain, probably a Real Betis, Celta Vigo. But thing is, if he's playing in the Liga week in, week out, that's when we'll see him turn into a senior international, Dave.
Well, I hope so. Betis and Vigo 6th and 7th, respectively, in the Liga. Como 10th in Serie A, but yeah, definitely like to see him go back home. Look, he was born in Spain. I know it's going to go some people's arses sideways, but I'd like to see him do it. I think he was very unlucky to miss out on the squad. Now, of course, this has been recorded before the squad update, so by the time you see this and this is released, he might be included in the squad, because there's a squad update on the 29th of May, and Conor will be down there for that, by the way. And
it doesn't matter, because they won't see it before it.
Well, you don't see it before it?
No, this is coming out on Friday.
Bugger. But anyway, I'll leave that bit in. I can't be arsed editing it out. But anyway, well, maybe you're watching this first, and then you're going to watch the thing. So yeah, just make sure you watch or go back and watch the squad up there. But I think he was very unlucky to be left out. What does the lad have to do? Like, he's playing week in and week out in. I think he played every minute as well, didn't he? In the Eredivisie, so this boy deserves a chance. He's 22. I haven't seen him play. I don't know enough about him. I haven't.
I can't believe he's been seriously looking, but I haven't seen him play. No, I think is
No, but he does deserve.
yeah, but we've loads of options centre half. It's not like
I
it's
know.
a crime. It's not a crime. It's just where
No, but it's like, as I said, I haven't seen him play. I mean, I don't have access to Eredivisie,
you
right?
should have seen him play for Ireland or 21s.
Yeah, well, I actually have watched him play for the under-21s. But I want to see what the lad is like, and I want to have a look at him play for Ireland. And I think if he's playing week in, week out for P, so where did as well?
They're just outside the European places.
Exactly. So that lad is playing week in, week out, for a team in the Eredivisie who finished 10th. They're a bit further outside the European places. They're 10th, right? Mid-table in a top league. Then he must be doing something right. And I want to have a look at him. I want to see, and that's the whole idea. I don't see what the point was in picking Seamus Coleman. I'm not going to get into that again. And he's got injured, so he might be missing from the squad. So he might be in the squad. I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah, I'd like to see him. If he's playing in La Liga, we want to be very. I tell you what, now we want to be very careful that we don't muck this lad around.
No, we won't. Don't worry.
Because if he's playing in a team that's finishing sixth or seventh, and he's only 20. He's only 22, and he's playing in a top 6 or top 7 team in La Liga. We want to make sure we don't mess this lad around. We want to make sure we get him signed up in green.
Don't worry, Dave. Stop question. He's playing for Ireland.
All right. You would have said that. You would have said it about Declan Rice at the time as well.
Yeah, but right, go on.
But anyway, I'll decide.
I don't like this negativity talk.
No, you don't, do you? You can't talk to these snowflakes, can you? They get all offended. Right, last one. Kevin Zefi, friend of the pod. How are you doing, Kevin? 20 years of age. He's currently at Roma. Now, possible clubs. Talk to us about young Kevin.
I think it's just been a question of what if with Kevin over the last couple of years. He's been met he has in his inter days. He probably has done a few stupid things that he probably regrets. Well, the biggest regret I say probably has of his career so far is going to Italy. Had bad advice from.
Not calling me Davy Goggles, no.
That's the worst agent to ever probably grace Irish football, who should be not allowed near Irish football again. Stephen Carr, for sending him to Inter, which was a terrible bit of advice going to a club like that when youth development in Italy as a 16-year-old is not good. Then went to Roma, which was still under Carr, who was banned as an agent at the time, which makes even less sense. So he's had poor advice over that, but thankfully he's away from that and he's in a good place now. And I watched him play the other day and I thought he played very, very well. He kind of started playing with his confidence again and getting that swagger back that Kevin hasn't had playing in a long time, to be honest, Dave. And if he can kick on, he'd be such an asset to Ireland in the future, and with the 21s as well, with the qualifiers coming up in September. And I think he's a sort of player we don't want to see him go near really England. Definitely he won't stay in Italy. That would be hell. I know Roma actually want him to stay and want him to sign a new contract and then go out on loan, but he needs to move on and get to a club that he will be a first teamer at and thought of very highly. So some of the clubs I think he would go in very well at is RWD Molenbeek. We've seen Jake O'Brien go on loan to a couple of years ago. We've seen Teo Daramola go on loan to. They're only in the second tier of Belgium, but we've seen lads go there for a year and really improve their game, get their confidence back, play week in, week out in a men's environment. In a league that's all about developing players and getting them to the next level, which I think is the right thing for Zefi at this stage, because he just needs to be playing and has the confidence of a manager behind him and players that, because the thing is, you just give him the ball and he'll create a bit of magic. The other clubs, I think, even like a Midtjylland in Denmark, the Danish league is another very good development league at getting lads developing and then selling them on for huge profits. So it's all about, they don't make their money. Don't worry about it. In England, it's all about saving jobs, really about getting promoted and relegated. It's all about saving jobs. In countries like Denmark and Belgium, it's all about the money's just made from selling players, so that's why they develop them as much as possible. And then the last club I think is just through the real Irish connection has been there is Excelsior. We had Troy Powert there last season, tore it up. I know they only had him on loan, but then they got relegated, but he done very well. I seen they got promoted from the second tier to the top tier in Holland or the Netherlands this season. So I think a club like that, I think they might think maybe we'd one Irish lad that was kind of written off, but in the past it came to us and done very, very well, got to the next level. Why don't they go and try and get the next Troy Parrott as such, what had all the hype in the world behind him as a 16, 17-year-old, and then hasn't went quite well the last couple of years. So yeah, I think just all about for Zefi is getting to the right league. I don't want to see him go to a League One team or a League Two team, because we've seen a lot of that football this season, and that does not suit a player who wants the ball at his feet, wants to take man on, just hoofball basically. So yeah, it's just about for Kevin really just getting to out of row.
Yeah, no, I agree. He needs to get out of the Italian league, and any Irish player that's gone to Italy, as a youth player, they've never succeeded. We've had a few, and
We've had quite a few.
We've had quite a few, and they just haven't done it. They don't. It's not a good place to go if you're a young player. I'm sorry, it's just not. I was actually speaking to two agents about that actually, at Wembley. I'll say no more. But yeah, and actually we're talking about someone like Kevin Zefi. In fact, they were asking about him. Say no more. But yeah, because they heard like what a super talent this lad is. Like what's happened? What's happened to him? Why is he in? Why haven't we heard anything more about him? Why isn't he in the under 21s? They said, well, he's at a club that's just, he's just not thriving at. So yeah, wouldn't mind seeing him in the Danish Super League. Wouldn't mind seeing him playing for Excelsior in the Eredivisie. What was it? What's the other one called? It's the other league is the Eredivisie or something, is it? Or it's the Eerste Divisie?
Yeah, it's Eredivisie.
Eredivisie. So yeah, I'd like to see him there and get out of Roma and get playing football, and hopefully start seeing him banging in goals for the boys in green. He hasn't played any senior football, so anyway.
He has. He's the youngest ever goal scorer in the League of Ireland. When he first Shamrock Rovers B, when they had the B team in the first tier or second tier, youngest ever goal scorer in the League of Ireland history, when he scored as a 15-year-old.
God, do you remember that? The League of Ireland B. Mad. Probably should do that again. Ooh, wrong pod. Anyway, so that's our 10 players in no particular order that we think need a transfer, need a move. Do you agree? Tell us in the comments. Now, don't forget, we haven't gone with free transfers. We've gone with players that are at clubs that desperately need a move. Do you agree? Tell us what you think in the comments. Have we missed anyone out? Tell us what you think in the comments, and we'll get back to you, I suppose, and respond with scorn and whatnot. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, we will be live at the 2 games in Dublin, of course, against Senegal, and in Luxembourg against Luxembourg, and all that happy stuff. Isn't that right, Conor? Looking forward to coming over to Luxembourg with me again.
Can't wait.
But we can't. But anyway, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like this video, and please head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter account, and head over to lansdowneroar.ie. That is lansdowneroar.ie for opinion. We're out of here. I'm David Dunn. He is Conor McAvoy. This is Lansdowne Roar. Voice of the fans.